because guns have flooded our streets.
And numbers over 600,000 crime guns.
But we are unsafe in our schools.
We're paying for the weapons of war on our streets.
Millions more firearms than people in America, and we don't even know where they are.
Throughout the past century, gun violence has played a pivotal role in our society. Many police officers and military own guns for protective use, but what happens if a regular day citizen were to have access to a gun?
40% of U.S. households own at least one gun. Not only do people have easy access to firearms, but they also always have one excuse for owning them: their safety. The question still remains then, should we have the right to bear arms?
One of the most common fears people have with firearms is their impact on children's lives.
The fact that our children are sitting in a classroom where they should be fulfilling their God-given potential, and some part of their brain realizes somebody could bust through that classroom door with a weapon.
The approximate percentage of child deaths by firearms is around 8% more common in the United States in contrast to foreign nations. This makes us a concerning outlier, and not enough has been said about it politically.
I think we need to be intentional about how that is regulated to make sure that guns are not easily accessed by people who are at high risk of doing things that are going to harm themselves or harm others.
From 2003 to 2021, the amount of active shooter incidents increased by roughly 500%, displaying a rapid increase in 2019. This intimidating show of data truly makes us question, why do people own firearms?
They're balancing a lot of competing priorities, and one of them is keeping themselves and their loved ones and their property safe. And they've been told for decades that this is the way to do it. They're also trying to balance keeping themselves safe from these internal threats like suicide or domestic violence getting lethal or a kid stumbling upon the firearm. They didn't mean it.
60% of Americans believe having a firearm makes them feel safer. Therefore, the issue at hand isn't simply access to guns. It's the feeling that the world we live in isn't safe anymore. It's a feeling of distrust in our community that causes people to own deadly weapons.
Some of these gun owners feel that they can't trust the government. The government's the enemy. They also feel apparently really insecure that law enforcement isn't going to be there to protect them.
There are some weapons that just don't belong in our neighborhoods in peacetime in America. And we've already decided that this is within the Second Amendment because we've decided that somewhere in between a slingshot and a nuclear weapon, we can draw a line. And that's not unconstitutional, it's common sense.
Along with government efforts, there are also nonprofit organizations working hard to put an end to this very prevalent matter.
We don't need only more politics.
The policy is going to ebb and flow every administration. And even when you have the administration you desire, you don't get everything passed that you want passed. You have a short amount of time to get dozens of laws passed to achieve your outcomes that you desire as a board. It's really difficult to pinpoint and to nail down a policy win.
And as her voice, we demand action. We seek a ban on assault rifles and high-capacity magazines. We understand that for some reason, to some people, to people with money, to people who fund political campaigns, that guns are more important than children.
Although a large part of mending the overabundance of gun incidents relies on government action, the opportunity of change certainly does not end in just the hands of law enforcement.
People in government should work with communities that are impacted by gun violence, should work with people who are in the gun violence prevention space to bring evidence in the form of lived experience as well as research and science.
For example, Switzerland has a heavily armed population, but it doesn't have a lot of gun violence. So the real issue isn't even necessarily just gun ownership per se, it's what do we do about the violence?
The best thing that I could think of is including mental, emotional, spiritual training in our academic system, in our public school system, which so many of our kids are coming through.
It's important that we be able to take on a certain level of risk of having firearms in the home. So rather than be focused on limiting access to them, I'm more interested in encouraging safety with them. The same way we teach folks how to drive safely. We teach about safe sex in schools. I'm at the point where like the harm is there. So what can I do to keep people safe?
We are just starting to enter the world of gun accessibility concerns as the issue becomes more relevant. As of now, the best thing that anyone could do at home is educate themselves.
We got the best scholars in the world. We have really smart graduates. We have lawyers. We have everything for policy. But that America's been great at policy since 1776 in the Declaration of Independence. It's not working. We're gonna have to try something else. I think it's love.
In 1787, our founding fathers made their Second Amendment their second priority for our Constitution, our future, and our freedom, the right to bear arms. However, the reality today is that this amendment results in more harm than benefits. To our future president, we proclaim that our welfare and protection should be your priority, but it should never be through accessing weapons.